Good day, viewers. Once again, I welcome you to the program, Know Your Leader program, sponsored by Kogi Concerned Elders. My name is Alhaji Ilyas Onechojon, your anchor person on this program today. Quickly, before we go into the program fully, let me inform or remind you that the progression or retrogression of every human society is dependent above 70% on the type of leader that leads the society. In other words, if you have a leader that is good, the society progresses. But if you have a leader, either by appointment, by election, or selection, that is not good, the society retrogresses. Therefore, the people must be fully conscious on the type of leaders that they choose for themselves, either through appointment, through election, or through selection. A leader that should lead the people should be a leader that is having character, that is having competency, that is having capability, that is having credibility. How will you know? Any man will tell you, I am the best. Select me, appoint me, or elect me in the course of marketing himself for leadership. The only way you, the electorate, can know who is a good leader is for you to do a background check of such leader from his precedents. Who was he? Who is he? And who is he going to be? How will you do that finding? The best way to do the finding is to check from those around him that knows him from childhood, those that knows him at adulthood, and those that know him in his later age. This is exactly what we have done under the sponsorship of Kogi Concerned Elders. We have gone to the country home of Vice Admiral Jibrin Usman in Lafia to do our finding. We ask questions from the elders, from the middle age, and from the youth as to who is Jibrin Usman, who was he before service, who was he in the service, and who he is today to them. What we have heard from his country home have been compiled and aired earlier. Today in this edition, we are going to hear from those that were with him in service, those that worked with him in the office, those that served with him in the naval force. We are going to hear from some of them as regards to who is he, what are his characters, and what are his administrative capacity. By the time we hear from those three people that worked with him that time, we can now leave the judgment and conclusion for you to judge by yourself. One of the first persons that we're going to hear from is Rear Admiral Sirilanda Ismaila Lassa. Officer Lassa, good day. Can we hear from you briefly as to who is Vice Admiral Jibrin Usman? Your view on Vice Admiral Jibrin Usman, sir. Hello, sir.
Vice Admiral Jibrin is one of icons of the Navy, and I was privileged to have served with him on two occasions while he was the Navy Secretary, and then subsequently when he became the Chief of Naval Staff. As the Navy Secretary, I was the Staff Officer One, Manning, and then when he became the Chief of Naval Staff, I served him as the uh, principal staff officer to the chief of naval staff, which is like the chief of staff. They call it chief of naval staff. So in those two capacities, I was able to actually have a first-hand knowledge of who the admiral is. There's a lot that I've been able to learn from who that personality is. First of all, he is a very, very gentleman, a down-to-earth person. If Admiral Jibrin comes to this office that I am, you will never know he is the one. Especially if you've not met him before, and you never know that he was in the military or even becoming Vice Admiral or Chief of Naval Staff, as the case may be. So he's a very humble person. I've seen a very humble. Uh, it's something that I've always looked up to doing because I've never seen him react to say he's upset and he throws caution overboard. No, he's always calm and calculated. And if he does that, it's just short, just an outburst, and then all of a sudden, yes, and then he recollects himself, and immediately he makes joke out of it. But he will have sent the message. That is the person I know of the Vice Admiral. Uh, his competence is, of course, if you are not good, you wouldn't have headed the Navy. So for him to have reached the zenith of his career, to become Chief of Naval Staff, obviously tells you that he was above board or he has merited that appointment to become the chief. And by the time I was serving with him as the Chief of Naval Staff, I could see much that one will desire as an officer. One that stands out his capacity is that he never involved himself in anything that had to do with criminality in the maritime area. He had never, because that's a sore thumb for this country, and I'm proud to have worked with him in that capacity. That for every arrest that I made, it reached the highest level of government and he never bent it back. And that is the angle that I see in him that I revere so much. And I hold him in high respect because it's an area that is tempting. It's a very tempting environment that to be, but he's been able to stand tall in all that. So I think that is one area that I see. And that compassion, he has a lot of compassion for people where families of people are sick or personnel have one challenge or the other. You see him reaching out. In terms of training, he has been able to do a lot for training for the personnel, at least approvals and so on and so forth. He's able to do that within the limited resources that we have. And even during his period of office, he was able to make some acquisitions for the Navy while he was in seat. So I see him as a capable and a promising son of Nigeria. And, he has served his own, he has served his, done his best. But like any other human being, we have our own shortcomings because we are human. So for that, I will not be able to say anything. Like I said, he is my senior, but it is an area where if you are working with somebody that is a mentor, you pick the good one that you
want to
improve upon.
emulate.
Yes, you emulate that. The bad one is also served as a guidance if you say it is bad, but these are relative terms. Uh, you might be a very good person. Somebody will look at that aspect as being bad. So
A good
that
police
is
officer is a bad person to an armed robber.
yes. So that is the aspect I think I can say about the admiral because I picked a lot of things, patience and calmness in all that you do. And at times there are things you send him a document, he wants to put on his instinct, just tell him no wait, and you think he's wasting time, and it takes time before he acts. Perhaps he will have gone back home and thought through some of these things or ask questions here and there. And when he takes a decision, it comes out perfect. And, and some of this, is like we growing up today that I'm saying some of our subordinates are also looking at us in that light.
Looking up to you.
Yes, but the experiences we are exhibiting today are not there in any four walls of the classroom, except you pick role models and then you begin to pick certain things as virtues that you want to emulate to become a better person. Of course, there's no need for you to start competing with any other person, but you compete with yourself of yesterday so that you're better today and tomorrow. Yes.
Finally, and conclusively, sir.
Yes.
In every of the military formation, the barracks and everywhere, we have officers' mates and other rank. The essence of that is for recreation, relaxation, and extra outside office activities.
Yes.
I would want to briefly, outside the administrative and other things, human relation, interaction with people. How would you describe the human relation of the Jibrin?
No, it's something else. Like I said, he comes in here, he electrifies the place with jokes and so on and so forth. And mind you, based on his background, uh, when he sees you 1 2 1 2, he will have been able to size you up. He's a trained intelligence officer. He's been exposed and so on. So he'll be joking with you, but he's gathering whatever he needs to know about you. And before you see him, or when you see him relate with people for long, he must have picked certain character traits that he believes he can stay with. But he's somebody that can live with just anybody. But it's just that he tries to adjust himself to whoever it is he is in contact with. That's what I've seen in him generally. Because at times I begin to wonder, why is he with this man? Because we often say that tell me who your friend is. Yeah, but in his own dictionary, he says, this is my friend, this is my acquaintance, this is my brother, this is my this. So he categorizes every other person.
So he carries along the good, the bad, the
he
ugly.
carries everybody along because as he keeps on, as he says that there's something you learn from every situation. Something you learn that the good man today may be a bad man to do a certain job, and the bad man you see today may be a good man to do a certain job because the good man may not be able to do that bad job.
Thank you very much for your time, man.
Well, those were the view, opinion, and experience of Rear Admiral Lassa about the personality of Vice Admiral Jibrin Usman. He was the administrative staff to Vice Admiral Jibrin Usman retire when he was the Chief of Naval Staff. You can hear his view about the officer from experience on his administrative capacity. Another person again that we spoke with after that is one of the officers too, his tribesman that served with him in the naval in his time in service. And that is Rear Admiral Shaibu Amadu, retired. He also has his own view and opinion about who is Vice Admiral Jibrin Usman, what were his experiences, and what are the things he knows about his administrative competence and capacity. Rear Admiral Shaibu Amadu, good day. Can we hear from you briefly about who is Vice Admiral Jibrin Usman? What do you know of his administrative competency, capability, and credibility? Let's hear from you.
Thank you very much for having me. My name is Rear Admiral Shaibu Amadu. Rear Admiral Shaibu Amadu.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
You are a retired naval officer, or still serving?
No, I'm retired.
Retired naval.
18 years ago.
Wow, that's a very long time. For how long have you known Usman Jbrin?
Vice Admiral Jibrin has been my colleague for a very long time, since 1979.
Wow.
Apparently, we happened to be on board the same ship in Germany in 1981 when they were building NNS Arabi. Has been my colleague, very nice officer. It's like a boy to me. We are from the same tribe, and in Germany, as a very young officer, they met us there, and since that time I have been witnessing his rise, to what he was before he retired from the Navy, Vice Admiral and the Chief of Naval Staff.
Very good. The military, the naval, the armed forces is a disciplined organization. And that is the place where you happen to meet with Admiral Usman Jbrin. If you are to describe his personality, administration, in terms of administration or in his career, how will you describe it?
Vice Admiral Jibrin is a very amiable officer. He has a very good character. Has a very good personality. Very capable administrator. He grew up, to be a vice admiral, and he has been very wonderful. He has his administrative capacity to do a lot of things. And in fact, it is based on that he rose to control the whole Navy.
The entire Nigerian Navy.
The entire Nigerian Navy at the Vice Admiral. So it's not a small feat, He has the administrative capacity, he has the skill, he has the knowledge of the Navy and everything. In fact, of Nigeria, I would say, because to be a chief of a service chief, you have to have the knowledge of the country itself, the knowledge of all the states and everything, at his disposal. So all these qualities, Vice Admiral Jibrin has them.
Will you describe him as a good manager of human resources?
That's what I'm telling you, because to be a service chief, to control a service, you have all the personnel at your disposal that you manage. You conduct them, you deploy them, you do everything, about them, their social welfare and everything, is at your disposal. And that he did creditably, when he was running the Navy.
Thank you very much, sir. On a final note, before we conclude this discussion, this is a family discussion. We are seeking to know, apart from his official duty and responsibilities, describe his relationship with people outside the office.
He's a good man. He has a very good personal relationship with people. He controls people very nicely. And I think he has a very, very good administrative acumen that is worthy of, emulation. He's a very, very good officer and a gentleman.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your time and the details you've given us in this discussion. We're going to continue our search on the personality of Vice Admiral Usman Jbrin.
Well, those are the views of Rear Admiral Shaibu Amodu, who also happened to serve with CNS Jibrin Usman, retired. Finally, we are going to hear from Rear Admiral Okoye, who was also another officer that served with Jibrin Usman before we conclude on this program. Quickly, before we conclude on the program, let us switch to Rear Admiral Okoye so that we hear from him his experience and knowledge about the person of Jibrin Usman, retired. Officer Okoye, retired. Let's hear from you, please.
My name is Rear Admiral Jibrin Edmond Okoye, retired.
Thank you, sir. From even to a layman or anybody, once you hear Navy, Army, or Air Force, anything about the military, the first thing that will come to your mind is discipline. Because the military environment is a formal and a very organized environment. That is the place you met Usman Jbrin in his course of service. So if you have to describe Usman Jbrin, who would you say is Usman Jbrin?
First of all, I met Admiral Jibrin in NDA. 1979 was my senior, even though we're not in the same company in NDA. But he graduated as the best naval cadet in his time. And then when I also left NDA, got a naval base, that's when I really met him and interacted with him. In fact, my relationship with him started when we were posted, or when we were serving together in Warri in those days, 1983, or 84, 85, thereabouts. And to be sincere with you, since then, I've not regretted having him as my senior, my boss, my friend, and my brother.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. In terms of administration, describe his human management and administrative capacity, his capability in terms of administration.
You see, when you say seaman, there are two different things from leadership on land. Let me put it that way. Remember at sea, all of you, whether you're an engineer, you're a seaman, you're whatever department you belong to, you're on the same boat. If anything happens, all of you will go down. Myself and Admiral Jibrin have not served on board any ship together, on board any naval warship together. But we served on together on other ships and other establishments. I can tell you, Jibrin is a fearless individual.
Fearless.
Fearless, I can tell you that. But he respects his seniors very, very much. And he gives the same respect to his juniors. But what he demands from his juniors is that you should be upright in whatever you are doing. And with that, you don't have any problems with him.
He was in charge at a point. He was in charge of the entire Nigerian Navy.
Yeah.
And you are in the country. You were in the country and you saw his administration and his time as the chief of naval staff. How will you describe his human and resource management?
I would say he tried his very best within the limited resources at his disposal. He was there for a very short time. But I tell you that, you see, unfortunately, there's nowhere in the world where a leader would be, everybody would praise a leader. You must have some people who are just against his or her policies. And Admiral Jibrin is not an exception. Within the short period, he did his very best. I can say that. He did his very best. Because even if you talk about the welfare of the men, some people who thought they are gone in the rank they were wearing at that time, he promoted them. He promoted them. It takes a lot of courage and boldness to do that. When there are some other junior ones who were eager to be promoted, but he still promoted those who deserve it. So I can say in a nutshell that he was a good leader, a leader that I can say I will follow to anywhere. It's just the plain truth. And fortunately enough, let me put it that way, both of us are of the intelligence corps, the Navy. So that's another aspect of it completely.
Then outside service, if you go back to the military formation, you have somewhere within every of your barrack where you call officers' mess. It means even in the military, there's permission for relaxation and extracurricular activities. So outside the uniform, what would you say of Jibrin's relationship with the people? Is he friendly? Is he hostile? Describe his relationship with the people, let me see.
Let me tell you, you are taking me back to Warri era. When we got to Warri that time, just a newly formed base, the mess was not functional per se as what a mess is supposed to be. What we were doing that time was that we officers would contribute money and give to the ratings who are in charge of the mess, so-called mess. That place was where we were eating and drinking. Normally, immediately we come back from work, we just get to the mess in uniform. We decided within us that there's not going to be an officer of the day. So if there's an incident that requires an officer, the duty PO immediately comes in. The first officer he meets, that officer becomes the officer of the day. To be honest with you, I think that's one of the best times in my life in the mess, as far as mess life is concerned. In fact, sometimes when we sit together, we still reflect back into, on those days in 1983, 84, 85. Look at it and we start smiling. There are some funny names we call ourselves, which I will not call them. I will not want to delve into it here.
Maybe after the program, I will hear that.
But unfortunately enough, that took us far. Even After that period, we're still in Lagumba, we're still living a good life. Not now that officers don't even go to the mess. It's unfortunate. The mess life is dead now. But I can tell you, if it's a mess, I'm Jibrin now. He's number one. And I just pray for him. For whatever he's going into, pray for him.
Oh, thank you very much, Officer Okoye. This is the much we can get from him on this matter. Well, viewers, here we'll be rounding up this program. But quickly before we go, let me inform you that the essence of this program is to allow you the access to previous knowledge of the person of Jibrin Usman, former CNS retired. You have heard from the man that served as his principal staff officer while he was the chief of naval staff, equivalent to chief of staff. He is still serving, and you've heard his testimony about the experience, knowledge, capability, credibility, character of his principal. You have heard also from those that were with him in the NDA and in service together. You have also heard from another man that started the career together with him. All these were their views and opinion about the personality of former CNS Jbrin Usman retired. Now, it's up to you to judge from what you have heard. Is this experience rich enough to handle your mandate? He has been at the helm of affairs of the entire Nigerian Navy. He has traveled the nook and cranny of the entire country. A redneck officer. I leave you to judge. This program is sponsored by Kogi Concerned Elder and brought to you from the station of Unity Radio and Television, URTV. Do not forget, I am your pace setter. I do it for others to emulate. My name is Alhaji Julius Usman Jbrin, wishing you a happy and productive day. Have a nice day.